man's speech for tonight is Fan the Flame. Fan the Flame and Hardy.
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to pop? Have you ever wondered what would happen if your skin no longer fitted you? Not a very pretty sight, I would imagine, but don't worry, because it could be a sign of greatness. You see, I think that greatness is not something that is given to the rich, the wealthy, the educated. I believe that we all have the capacity to be great. Every single one of us. But the unfortunate thing is that greatness is not found at the top of the building blocks of life, but at the very bottom. If we look at the great men of history, Winston Churchill, Nelson Mandela, their black hole became their finest hour. So greatness, what is it? How do we define it? Can we even define it? Can we recognise it when we see it? In recent months, I've had the privilege, I believe, to see it, to touch it, and to stand humbly in its presence. I have met ordinary men and women whose lives have been squeezed and crushed like a rose on the ground until they could barely breathe. But they didn't lie down and accept their fate. Instead, they grew from the inside until their skin no longer fitted them, metaphorically speaking. In times to come, I believe that the men and women of the Victorian bushfires will be spoken about, ordinary men and women, that we wouldn't necessarily say great, and they were up there and have their names in lights. Oh no, not at all. But their names will pass down the generations. Like Beck. Beck lost 2 of her children and her brother. And yet, she still says, you know, those that lost their everything, their homes, are worse off than she is. And she now works to bring relief to others. And then there's Nicky. Nicky's farm is at the end of a long lane. They were surrounded by fire on all sides. But she later discovered that on the firefighter's map, her farm has a black cross on it that says don't attempt rescue. She said, that's okay. I chose to live there. I knew the risk. That's all right. She now works tirelessly to bring her community back together. So I ask again, what is greatness? If we could take just the core elements of greatness and then apply it to ourselves, maybe, just maybe, each one of us could begin to live great lives, lives that make a difference, lives that matter. When I was a child, we had an open fire and a square surround to it. And I can still see, my father would stand with the Birmingham Mail or the Argus, pink paper at the time, and he would stand with the paper over the hole, perhaps you've done it, and he would make sure it sealed the edges, and he would wait. Now behind the paper before he put it there was just dull coal, that's what he had. But as he stood there, after a little while, the red embers would start to burn, and the flame would start. And if he wasn't quick enough, the paper would actually go whoosh up the chimney with a roar. Do Do you remember? I know when I first tried it, it did that. I think I was. As I've thought about greatness, I've remembered that. And you know, I can see maybe 3 very small sparks that if we could somehow fan them into flame in ourselves, then maybe, just maybe, we would grow on the inside. And our lives would lift, perhaps, from a level of mediocrity to greatness. 3 sparks. The first one is purpose. When you let a cause or a vision capture your heart so intensely that you give away yourself in pursuit of it, and you commit everything you are to that cause, which is outside of yourself and probably for others, then I believe you grow on the inside. You see, selfish acts shut us down. Selfless acts expand us. The second spark would be passion. Passion fuels purpose. Without passion, we are not stretched. We're rather like an elastic band. But passion stretches us and stretches us and stretches us until in the end we become useful. Without the stretch, it's elastic. The third spark is perseverance. This is when you do not accept no. You do not listen to those who say it can't be done. We push through. We push through when we have negative comments. We push through when there is failure. And we get there for other people's sakes. So 3 things. I ask you tonight to consider fanning into flame your purpose, your passion, and your perseverance. And then stand back and wait for the roar